Brian Silber. Brian, that is an important distinction because obviously in these counts, it's very important for the losing candidate to see if he can gain some ground, whether in the gubernatorial battle, the Senate battle, the agricultural commissioner battle. And then we have these 4,000 or so absentee and other ballots where they have to verify signatures. So if I know there's going to be a hand count as well, but a lot of things have to go Senator Nelson's way, even if he got all of those ballots whose signatures are being checked. It wouldn't be enough to close the gap at this point.
Well, look, it's not a question right now of what will the ultimate outcome be. This is a question of process. And the whole idea is we want to make sure that the citizens of this country have their right to vote protected. And Florida law says when you have a race that is X amount of narrow margin, you have to do a mandatory recount. Right. Those are statutory safeguards. And where that lands us in the end, we'll know when we get there.
All right, well, I like that. But just to understand, when it's under 0.25% of the vote, then for the next step is a hand recount. Now, the hand recount
That's correct.
Gets into these issues of these ballots, where they were thrown out. Some of them were thrown out because the signatures didn't match or whatever. How do they handle something like that?
So the very first thing that you have to realize is in a manual recount, we are not counting every single ballot that was cast. That is not the situation. We are limited strictly to manually looking at those ballots that the machines cannot read. And the reason why they can't read them is because they're an overvote or an undervote. All that machine does is read penciled in ovals. That's it. It's a Scantron machine. So when it gets a check, a dot, something not registered, that's when a human has to come in and look at it. And that's the part that's going to be the manual recount.
Okay, so when Broward County officials seem to be indicating to us, for example, the Democratic County, that the sway in these numbers doesn't seem, and I know what you're saying about process, it's a very good point and a reminder, Ross, but a lot of people are looking, what will change in this process as it moves to the hand count and verifying signatures and all of that, but that they are saying, at least in their county, that the numbers have not starkly moved one way or the other. Then it gets to the hand recount. Assuming that doesn't change, the final numbers come in statewide by November 20th when all this has to be finalized, right?
That's correct. And in my experience, having handled a recount in the past, this summer, in fact, the electronic recount is almost perfect. When we redid it must have been about 250,000 votes, the numbers came back exact. They didn't even change by one single vote.
Wow.
The only time we saw a change was with the manual count.
All right. That's very, very interesting. I learned a lot talking to you. Brian Silber, election law attorney.
Thank you.
Much appreciated. What a confusing process.
Thank you.
All right.